Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Flagler County. So today I'm super excited to have my guest Rhonda with us today. Rhonda, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. Well, I'm super excited because Rhonda and I have been a part of BNI together, a local networking group here in town. A little while ago, actually, she did give her presentation and she was just sharing a lot of great information that I was like, I already loved what she's doing, but this really kicked that spark. I was like, I really need to make sure she comes on the podcast and she shares it with everyone on what she's doing and just some of the things that clearing up some misconceptions I think a lot of people have when it comes to psychiatry, therapy, and just knowing yourself, which is a really big thing. So, Rona, why don't you kick us off and just tell us a little bit about your journey, first of all, coming here to Flagler County?
Yes, perfect. So I came to Flagler County about 2 years ago. I'm the baby of the family, so I followed my parents up here, and I quickly recognized there was a significant need for psychiatric providers in
Mhm.
the area. So that's really what prompted me to open up my business. And I opened up Sunshine Psychiatric Care about a year and a half ago. So it's been a real pleasure, helping members of the community, with their mental health.
Mm-hmm. And do you want to share a little, like, how did you get into psychiatry in the first place?
Yeah, so before I became a psychiatric nurse practitioner, I worked as an RN for years in the hospital
Mm.
setting. Through there, I really seen, firsthand how mental health was often overlooked and just not really treated with the same level of importance as physical health. So that's really what, piqued my interest. And then the more that I learned about it, there's some pretty astounding statistics that I think not a lot of people are aware of.
Yeah, do you want to share some of those statistics?
Yeah, absolutely. So something that I get, from patients a lot is, I didn't seek treatment sooner because I didn't want to be judged or, I didn't want my family to think something was wrong with me or, I hear a lot of different things, but the reality is, mental illness is very prevalent, probably a lot more than people realize, right? So, some statistics that I read recently are 22% of adults in the United States struggle with symptoms of mental illness each year. So, if you think
Mm.
about that, that's 1 in 5 adults. So, if you're in a group with your friends, chances are it's a couple of people. Um, it's estimated that 5% of adults in the United States struggle with severe symptoms of mental
Mm.
illness, right? So
Wow.
that is 1 in 20. Suicide remains a leading cause of death in the United States. It's estimated that one person dies of suicide every 40 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah. And despite these alarming statistics, it's estimated that 40% of people don't get the care that they need due to a lack of available providers.
Mm-hmm. And I'm so glad that you brought up the, 1 in 5, 1 in 20, because I think sometimes our brain, we're just so used to big numbers nowadays that we hear, 22%, it's not that big. But then you look at a room of people and you start counting how many people are there and you go, holy crap, if it's 1 in 5 and there's 30 people in the room and you go, oh my gosh, like that is so many more people than I could have ever imagined. And we're not sharing these statistics because we want to scare people or make people feel like weird, I guess, about it or anything. But we're just sharing that because we want people to know, like they're not alone, right? Because that's a very common thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because up until a few years ago, mental health was very taboo. Like people weren't really talking about it. So it's exciting to see there's been a shift in the last few years. Like people are more openly speaking about their struggles in relation to, their mental health, which I think is positive because it shows others like, hey, I'm not alone. So they're
Mm-hmm.
more likely to seek care when needed.
I think another big part that people don't seek care is because they believe they can just kind of like fix it on their own or it'll just go away with time.
Yeah.
And they think, oh, I felt sad before and it's eventually worked out so I can stay with this. What do you kind of have, like, what is some of your advice if people like, oh, I can just wait it out, it'll be okay?
Well, sometimes that is the case, right? So you have to really evaluate what are you doing. So you have to make sure you're giving your body its basic physiological needs in order to have
Mm,
good mental health, right? So that's adequate rest. You should be sleeping like 6 to 8 hours per night. Physical activity, a lot of people are not getting that physical activity in, not really leaving the house and wondering like, why do I feel so down? So those are some things that they can definitely augment on their own, making sure they're getting adequate rest, making sure they're moving their body, they're fueling their body with good nutritious foods and not, a bunch of processed foods. And then I think that's where I would start personally
Hmm.
and kind of go from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, because like there's things that you can do, and then there's things that you want to reach out. Which I just realized. Can you define to us what a psychiatrist nurse, practitioner nurse does? Because I think some of these words are a little bit big for us, and we go, wait a minute, I think I know what that is, but I don't actually. Can you explain a little bit of what you do for people?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people wonder, like, what is the difference between psychiatry and therapy? Are they the
Hmm.
same? So to answer that, no, they're not. So what I specialize in as a psychiatric nurse practitioner is psychiatric medication management. So what I do works very synergistically with the therapists in the area who really, cover the therapy side. So each play a very important role in, getting that person to a good mental health state.
And you recommend trying out therapy before coming to you, or how do you kind of if people are like,
Yeah,
I don't even know where to start, but I want to start doing something?
yeah. All right. So really it's going to be based on symptom severity,
Mm.
right? So we all experience some level of anxiety. Does that mean you need medication? No. We need to experience some level of anxiety. Otherwise, like we wouldn't get anything done. But when it becomes problematic to the point that it's really affecting their ability to function in their daily life, like their ability to work, have close relationships, or complete daily activities, then, that's a good indication that those symptoms are severe and they may need psychiatric care. But if it's someone who's just kind of going through some life struggles, just feeling a little bit sad, but, not really having significant difficulties in their day-to-day life, then I think therapy, would definitely be a good place to start. So it's really based on symptom severity. If someone's having, really dark thoughts of like harming themselves or anyone else, that's severe, obviously,
Sure.
psychiatric care would be indicated there.
Awesome. And I think a very big common misconception that you and I have talked about before is when it comes to medication, a lot of people are like, oh, I don't even want to go down that route because I think, it'll turn off all my emotions, or I'll never feel anything again, or I'm just going to become a completely different person. But, you're the expert here. Can you share a little bit about that on, why that just really wouldn't be true?
Yeah, that's another concern that I get from patients a lot. And I feel like that's a very big misconception because I never want any of my patients feeling numb. So if that is the case, then that would be an indication to me that maybe that's not the right medication or it's not the right dosage. So just, communication goes a
Mm,
long way, right? And I always encourage my patients to keep the line of communication open. And if they are feeling any of those feelings, numbness, then definitely let me know ASAP and there's adjustments that can be made. Because you know, antidepressants, I don't want them to make you feel numb. They should really just kind of take the edge off of whatever it is that they're treating, whether it's a depression or anxiety, but hopefully not causing numbness.
yeah. And are there any other maybe concerns people have had, or anything that you would like to share? Because you're the expert, or you've seen everything, you know what people are thinking more than me. I'd love to know, like, I guess like some things, like some concerns people have had, or maybe they are excited to do. I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah, well, like I said, the conversation's really changing in the last couple of years. So it's
Mm-hmm.
exciting to see that people are actually enthusiastic about, improving their mental health. So I think that, that's something exciting to see. People are talking about it and it's becoming less of a taboo subject.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's been really great for me to see as well, like growing up in an age where it's just as we get older, more and more people are open about it, like a lot of my friends were all very open about like some of the things we deal with. And of course, also because it is a close circle of friends, we want to lean on each other. But I think the fact that it's being acceptable, seen as acceptable to do that is a huge step towards mental health and just the awareness and destigmatization of some of these disorders.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's a very common, I guess, misconception? I mean, we've talked a little bit about medication and this and that. Are there anything else that maybe you and I are missing about talking about that maybe someone listening may be like, well, I don't want to reach out because this is how I'm feeling, or something like that?
Yeah, especially, when someone has anxiety. I've had quite a few patients come to me like, I've been thinking about reaching out, for the last 6 months, but basically their anxiety kind of prevented them from doing so. So, I mean, you really just have to like do an evaluation of your life, right? So, are my symptoms affecting my ability to function in life? Like, am I not going to social events because my
Mm,
anxiety is too high? Am I having trouble going to the grocery store because my anxiety is too high? That's not a way that anybody wants to live on their day to day. So, I would say, if symptoms are impacting your ability to function significantly or causing a lot of distress, like there's definitely things that can be done, whether it's medication or therapy, right?
yeah,
Medication is not appropriate for everyone.
sure.
Like I said, medication and therapy definitely both play an important role. So
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought up the examples of what that kind of evaluation looks like, because especially if you do struggle with sometimes severe anxiety, you just get so used to it. And you're like, well, don't we all feel this way? And then you talk to someone and they're like, no, I have never felt this way in your life. And you're like, oh, wait, this is a little bit more than, just being nervous to speak in public, which is a very common fear that people have, versus, like being too scared to talk to someone at the grocery store, which is a little bit different of a fear.
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, Rhonda, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing a few minutes of this because this is such an important topic. Is there anything that you think we missed when kind of talking about a topic as important as this?
I feel like we covered, all the large bases, but I will say that especially in this area, a lot of people are not from this area, right? So
Mm,
a big concern that a lot of people have, including myself when I first moved here, is it's hard, it's kind of hard to make friends as an adult, right?
mm,
So I would encourage people who are new to the area to really be proactive about like seeking out their tribe, right? So think
yeah.
about like what hobbies do you enjoy doing and like go seek out groups who, are likely to enjoy some of those same hobbies. There's a lot of
Oh,
really
mm-hmm.
good ones on social media, and that would definitely that's a recommendation that I give to a lot of my patients because that's
Yeah.
a major concern is a lot of people have trouble like finding their tribe here, especially adults.
Definitely. Oh, I'm so glad you brought that up because that was something that I wanted to bring up as well before you wrapped it up. Which was just, we're all new. A lot of us, I don't want to say all of us, but a lot of us are very new here. And a big part of mental health is, like you mentioned, going outside, meeting with people like-minded, hanging out with your friends. That's such a big part of self-care, taking care of yourself, and putting yourself in environments where you can be happy, be yourself. Otherwise, being cooped up in your house all day, not talking to anyone, not engaging in the things you love to do, that leads to, needing some more severe care. Not obviously all of it, but it doesn't help anyone to do that. So I'm super glad you brought that up. Yeah, we've talked before about like Facebook groups are such a big one of, pickleball and tennis and stuff like that. There's a group for anything on Facebook, really. And I mean that in the best way possible. So Rhonda, thank you so much for spending a few minutes of your time coming on here, just sharing a little bit towards destigmatizing, especially in our community, on that people, it's okay to get help. So I really appreciate you coming on and just sharing on this really important topic.
Yes, no problem. I appreciate you having me.
Of course, and to everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time.